r/Nosleep. Posted by Reddit user. Not underscored necessarily. I got a job as a security guard at a remote shopping mall. I found a strange set of rules in the employee manual. I cradled one side of my head to stop the blood flow from my ear when I heard the high-pitched beep once again. I immediately looked up at camera 9 and watched as the screen came back to life. I saw Marcus on the camera, and he looked nervous as ever while patrolling the first floor. I watched as his face suddenly turned to a face of absolute fear. Somehow, the camera changed angles, and now I could see what he was looking at. He saw the same white-gowned lady that I had just dealt with, staring at him from the shadows of a store. She stuck out like a sore thumb in the shadows of the shop. Marcus was frozen like me, and the lady walked over towards him. She pulled out the knife embedded in her abdomen and slowly walked towards him. Marcus became unstuck like me and started running, but suddenly he stopped. The camera angle switched again, and I saw a grinning Dylan holding Marcus as he struggled to run free. Dylan was bigger and leaner than Marcus, and it seemed impossible that he would get away. I felt helpless as I watched the camera. Dylan started laughing. Even though I couldn't hear it, I felt a chill go down my spine. He was grinning wide from ear to ear, unnaturally wide. His face froze in that grin, and his eyes were wide and hungry. The lady slowly walked up to Marcus and stabbed him, again and again. The screams were so loud, I could hear them from my security room. I shuddered in my seat and tears rolled down my face, but I continued watching the camera feed. His screams finally died down, and his body slumped down. Dylan let go of his body and slid down onto the floor like jelly. Dylan then put his finger on either side of his grin and ripped open his skin. His skin peeled away like tape. I felt the urge to vomit again, but my stomach was empty. My eyes got watery and I grew nauseous. Dylan ripped all of his skin off to reveal a totally different creature. He was still human, just skinned. I could see all his muscles, organs, and veins. Then he bent down and started to eat Marcus's body. The lady with the knife smiled and disappeared off screen. The camera finally flickered off. As soon as the camera turned off, I gasped massive gulps of air, realizing that I had held my breath the whole time. Then I started crying hysterically and kicking at the walls. I felt hopeless. My mind flooded with thoughts of how I was about to die here. And suddenly, I heard a knock on my door. My mind quickly came back to the situation, and I was on alert. "Hey Richard, it's me, Dylan. There's a weird thing outside. Please, let me in." I gasped and quickly hid in the toilet and locked the door to it. And Dylan started knocking again. His voice grew more frantic. I put my hands over my ears and tried my best to ignore him. And then, he started kicking and ramming himself into the door. I flinched every time I heard the door bang and prayed the door to stay strong. Luckily, the door held and the bang subsided. I cautiously made my way out of the bathroom and collapsed in the chair. My watch chimed again, telling me that it was 1 a.m. In no way was I going out into the mall after that. I decided to skip the round. Just this one. 5 minutes ticked by in absolute silence. I started laughing in relief. That's when the first hand popped out. It slid right out of the wall, like the wall was a pool of water. Imagine you pulling your hand from under the water. That's exactly how it appeared to come out of the wall. I jerked back immediately. More hands appeared from every wall, and they reached for me. They were hungry for me. They reached further and further, wanting to grasp my skin. I backed off as more and more hands appeared from the walls, the roof, and the floor. I screamed as one of them touched me with their slimy, wet grip. I ran out of the security room. So, not following this rule really had its consequences. I strained my eyes to see in the dark and slowly made my way around the second floor. I decided not to go to the first floor to be safe. I felt very vulnerable in the open space as unknown shadows surrounded me. I felt like every shadow was going to jump at me. Suddenly, I felt a very strong presence behind me. I looked behind and saw nothing but shadows and the faint outline of the mall. I felt the presence again and turned my whole body quickly and saw nothing more once again. My heart rate rose to levels I didn't know were possible, and I stood still. I felt a faint breath on the back of my neck and turned around to come face to face with Dylan. I whimpered and jumped backwards. I somehow tripped on myself and fell to the floor. Dylan grinned at me in the same way. His skin was back on again, though. He started leaning down to pick me up while laughing. I kicked him in the face and quickly straggled up to my feet. Dylan was in shock at what happened. In my adrenaline-filled state, I kicked Dylan in the groin, while simultaneously punching him in the side of the neck. These were some of the moves I had learned from when I used to do mixed martial arts in my teens. Looks like all the practice really did help and muscle memory was real. Then I quickly shoved him backwards against the railing, quickly pushed him over the railing, and he fell to the first floor with a scream. He landed with a thud on the hard marble floor. Blood pooled around his head. He stared up at me with lifeless eyes. My watch then started beeping and I realized I had screwed up. My 15 minutes for the round was over. The shadows transformed into silhouettes and soon, multiple black figures were surrounding me. They all howled in unison,